The Daily Raz Show with Jack Wilson.
Everyone, welcome to the Daily Raz Show. I'm Jack Wilson, and if you're watching, thanks for joining us. So, yesterday I did a show on fascism, and I'm gonna try to continue that a little bit today on some more thoughts that I had and some of the things that are happening. So I was talking about fascism in the U.S., but basically it came off of a program that I watched. You'd have to watch yesterday's podcast, and it came off of the program that I watched from Rick Steves did on fascism in Europe. And you'd just have to go back and review that. I don't want to go over it again. But, it's basically, is it happening in the U.S.? I mean, there's just been a slow erosion of democracy and its principles in this country that I can see. But, I mean, it hasn't happened yet. Fascism takes little bits and pieces, and it just kind of eats away at democratic principles a little bit of the time. So is it happening yet? And is there a possibility of it happening here? And yeah, of course there is. If you let these these things develop over time, yes, it can happen. So when people like Trump can bounce around the world and impose their will. And I mean, I speak of him, but it could be anybody. When they impose their will on countries and people with no consequences or accountability, the threat, yes, is real. So, I mean, we can take a case in point of, for example, the ballroom. It was like a total surprise to everybody that this guy just tore down a wing of the White House, and was like, what the hell was that? But this is what he thinks he can do. So these are cases in point: the ballroom, the Kennedy Center, shoving. I mean, the Kennedy Center is a whole other thing. It's back in the news again. A judge told him you got to take your fucking name off of it. It's not yours. It's not your personal property. And they had to take their name off. Well, now they're going to try and put it back up again. They're always trying. He packs these people, his sycophants, in, and packs his followers in, and now they're going to try to put this name back up again on the Kennedy Center. And it's already been said and known that, Congress has to do this, but he thinks not. He can just impose his will and go ahead and do it. So, he's done the ballroom, and that's a total fiasco. Nothing has happened with that yet, other than there's just a big hole. The Kennedy Center, he's gonna take credit. Personal credit for going in and redoing it. That's a bunch of bullshit, and try to slam his name on it. And also, then he's running around the world just shoving his face in geopolitics and causing number one, world disorder, insecurity, and he makes these unilateral decisions that have just caused chaos in world affairs, and really principally has undermined the military readiness of this country. I mean, he's spent so much money and also military hardware. We don't really even know the depth of that, our preparedness for an event that would happen as a threat to us, instead of us running around trying to force our will around the world and using our resources up in the process. We don't really know the depth of it. And what do we really have in readiness? I mean, this stuff takes years and years to build up. So again, our military readiness. I mean, he's using his old tactics from his business background. I mean, this is what, as an autocrat in business, and I've talked about this in a podcast, businessmen are basically autocrats. They run their business with an iron fist if they're successful. Normally, that's the way they run them. And he's trying to take those business principles and backgrounds and is displacing our democratic norms, just sliding them away. So is this fascism? Well, I mean, it's a stepping stone in that direction, and basically no one is stopping him. No one is stopping this man or his principles that are doing it yet. No one has done it yet. And hopefully we're moving in that right direction. In a couple of months, we have an election coming up, and maybe, just maybe, I keep my fingers crossed that we can do something about it by replacing these people that are just on his wagon and will not get off. Anyway, also, this morning I was thinking of an old TV show, just to get off of Trump for a minute. I got to do that. So this morning I was thinking of a TV show. I'm a great Western fan. I love old Westerns from the 50s and 40s, 50s, and 60s. Not so much in the 40s, but 50s and 60s. I love old Western movies and some of the TV shows. One of my favorites was Paladin, and it ran from, I think, 57 to 63, if I'm not mistaken. I wasn't very old. And Richard Boone starred in that for those years. I don't know, it was like 6 years or something. So my question is a trivia question. What was the name of Paladin's houseboy? Now, because, Paladin would go out and he would do good deeds for everybody. And then he would go back to his hotel. I think it was the Carlton or something in San Francisco. Anyway, he would go back to his hotel and live in the lap of luxury. And he had a whole history, but they really didn't go into the detail too much on the program. But Paladin, he wore these expensive suits, and he had a luxury suite in the hotel. And he would peruse the papers around the country and see who was in trouble, and then would go and help these people, and was rewarded, I guess. And that's how he lived his opulent life. But anyway, what was the name of his houseboy? Trivia question. Unless you look it up, you're not going to get it. For years, I watched the program and really didn't actually catch it, but his name was Hey Boy. And that was what Paladin would do when he was in his suite. He wanted something or dinner, he would go, "Hey Boy." And it wasn't like that was his name. That was his name. And I believe it was a Chinese character actor. I forget his name. I don't know. But anyway, I think later on in the series, they actually gave him a name. But through the whole series, it was Hey Boy. And just a trivia note. So another one is, basically, what does Paladin mean? I mean, it was like, where did that name come from? He really didn't have a name in the series, in the TV series. But, what does Paladin mean? Well, it goes back to kind of medieval times, I think. These were basically knights, and they called them paladins. And I think that's like why the knight is in a chess piece, and that's the reason he used that little chess piece on his holster. But paladins back in those days were basically heroic defenders of noble causes. And, it could be for anybody. As long as it was a noble cause, the paladins were the defenders of that noble cause. So I was thinking of that this morning. I don't know why, but I was thinking to myself, we need a paladin today. We need a paladin today. So it was, where is our noble defender? Hopefully somebody will come up and we can put the nickname on him. Anyway, that was a bit of trivia. So kind of moving on, basically Trump is just sticking his name on anything he can. He's slamming gold all over and using these things to put his name on landmarks. I mean, the guy is just unbelievable. I just don't know. No one's ever really seen anything like it, and perhaps that's the reason no one can figure out what the hell to do with this character. But he goes, just never mind the laws or the original intent of the structure. For him, he's going to put his name on the damn thing and go with that. He has to paint everything in gold and attach his name to him. I don't get that. I don't get the semblance of all the gold. I mean, it totally looks ridiculous. But that's Trump. I mean, to me, he's just a sick fuck with a mental disease. That and it seems to be okay with just a large contingent of his followers. I guess, who have an agenda of their own or are lost in the world. And they kind of grabbed onto his coattail thinking he's the Messiah, the Savior, and he's going to take care of them. But I go back to the groups in my original podcast on fascism. I go back to the groups that who are looking to blame somebody for their lot in life. Now, this is irregardless of the money people. I know why they support him, because they're making billions on his coattails. Well, the average American is not. Okay, if they're in the markets and they're doing well, but I think yesterday I even mentioned what the average person has in investments. So it's not like they're making millions, okay? But again, I go back to, these are just groups of people that tie onto this guy, and they have found people to blame. I watched a program. I forget where it was on. I watch a lot of PBS. I see things that they're doing, but I think this was on mainstream media, where there are now communities. I mean, this is fucking scary shit. There are communities being built in this country that are all white, and you have to be all white to move there. And what they do is they buy land. They're creating their own little towns by buying land, building houses, building structures, creating communities. They're creating little towns, all white. And one of the caveats is that you got to be white to move there. It's just that simple. And, so it's like nationalism and populism is back on the rise in the U.S. and Trump, and more specifically, Stephen Miller, are the loudspeakers for this movement. I mean, they are hollering that that's what they're backing. You see it And if you watch the correct programs and catch Stephen Miller, you can see that that's where this guy's head is. And look, as long as they're backed by billionaires and Wall Street, the slide, I mean, the precipice and the slide to fewer civil liberties is going to continue. We see them every day. Look, it's it's going to depend on elections and the elections coming up, local and national, to see if the dismissal of these right-wing politics is large enough to shove their goofy ideas in the trash and go back to the democratic process. The democratic process that we've had for decades, I guess, centuries now, a couple centuries. But they keep trying to label them. Here's one of the things. They keep trying to label Democrats as communists and socialists. This is right out of the fascist playbook of the 30s. That was one of the things they did, was they labeled these other groups as socialists, communists, and it's almost verbatim. And they're doing it now on national television networks at any opportunity that they can get to call Democrats socialists and communists. And some of it's sticking. I mean, some of it is sticking. These are scare tactics and labels. They don't want to mention their police state, their jackboot tactics and dictatorial policies that they're using every day, and they're doing it as calling it for our own good and our protection. Protection from some boogeyman that's going to come out and bury us in crime and mayhem. And that's why we're now seeing military on the streets, ICE, people with masks on with no identification. I've said this before, time and again. So it's like, what happened to the police forces that we pay for in the states and the cities? I'm talking about state police and the city police, sheriff's departments. We pay for all of that. What happened to that? That's not good enough to protect us? Well, in their mind, no. In their mind, no, because they want a singular control with their personal police force. You can label them any way you want, but that's their personal police force when they put these people into the cities. I mean, basically, we're having a military and government thugs protect us. These are just scare tactics. Wake up, people. Wake up. It's got to stop. I can't do it alone. It has to be a national awakening, and it has to happen during this election cycle. So I'm going to leave this with a last word. Democrats, the Democratic Party, they're not communists. They're not socialists. They have ideas. You can reject those ideas at the polls, but they're not communists. They're not socialists. They are interested in the good of everyone in this country, Republicans and Democrats. However, they're being mugged and ganged on by liars and thugs from the right who use these labels to isolate and reinforce the populism and nationalism theme that they use. And I mean, they're just sick and way out of control for those who believe in that. For those who believe in that, they're out of control. And I would tell you to reject it. Everyone needs to reject it. And I'm not into violence. We don't need any more violence, but we need answers, and we need sensible people that are not going to use thug tactics on American citizens. Okay, and so I would say that. I'm going to have more to go later on. We'll do another show tomorrow. I'm going to try to change the subject a little bit, but we're coming up on election time, and it's time to get organized in your local areas and get the word out to people and look around and find answers. There's a lot of people in the national media that have the answer, and we just need to look to them for a few answers to some questions. There's a lot of questions, but number one, vote. That's it for me for today. I'm Jack Wilson. It's Daily Raz show. You can follow me on dailyraz.com on my website. I do writing on that. I've kind of been away from it. And also you can follow me on the Daily Raz show on YouTube. I also post all of my podcasts on dailyraz.com. And as you can see, I have my sling off from shoulder surgery. There's still some issues with it, but I'm out of a sling, so I'm able to use it gingerly, easily, but it's going to be a few months to be able to get back to doing anything normally. Like I told you before, I think when I did a podcast on this, because it was all kind of new to me, it's a 6-month process, and I'm kind of adhering to that. So I would say, again, follow me on dailyraz.com, a Daily Raz show. I'm Jack Wilson. Glad you could make it this time, and thanks for watching.